Shalom. I'd like to say our praise is due to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem Kakwadash. Double honors to the apostles of Great Millstone, of whom I learned this truth. Peace and blessings to the elect. My name's Kanawak, and it's going to be in regards to the Moors versus the wild men. One moment. Because Jake was in rulership during the Middle Ages, known as the Dark Ages. That's why they called during the Middle Ages they called Jake the Dark Ages. Esau, the historian, they called them the Dark Ages, because the Israelites was in rulership all throughout Europe, and basically Esau fell because after the Roman Empire, the pagan Roman Empire, was in power, right? They lost their power, and then Jake rose to prominence. So we'll get you this scripture. Revelation 20:1. And I saw an angel come down from heaven, having the key of the bottomless pit and a great chain in his hand. So this is the angel's Yahushai, right? And the bottomless pit is known as Europe. And he laid hold on the dragon, that old serpent, which is the devil and Satan, and bound him 1,000 years. So the dragon is the Roman Empire, the pagan Roman Empire, right? And they're in power, right? And then basically they lost their power, when Jake rose to prominence in Europe. That old serpent, which is the devil and Satan, right? So the serpent going back from the garden, he's the same serpent which goes back to Cain, right? The adversary, right? Then he's Edomite, they're the same spirit, right? Satan, which means adversary, to bound him 1,000 years. And he cast him to the bottomless pit and shut him up, and set a seal upon him, that he should deceive the nation no more till 1,000 years should be fulfilled. And after, he must be loose a little season. So we're in this time of his little season, basically starting from his whole Renaissance, his whole which means rebirth, and the Borgia family that rose to prominence, Pope Alexander VI, and the Borgia family, Caesar Borgia, that the Pope, he made a painter known as Michelangelo, I believe that's his name. And basically he's a painter, and he was commissioned to paint a depiction, of Christ, which is in a false picture, right, where they whitewashed the saints. It's called iconoclasm, and that's what they were doing, with our painting, our murals. They're whitewashing them, to this day, right? And that's why I get this other scripture, but this is a very, very good book. I don't know, where did I buy it? I don't know if I think I probably got this at the library, the Toronto library, over by Young and Bloor, because we used to meet up at the library, 2009. We would study, and then we would go to camp. We'd walk through Young and Bloor, all the way down to Young and Dundas, and go to Victoria and Dundas and preach. And we would always buy these books. Me, Jeremiah, Yawasop, Howard. We'd buy, we'd buy these books. And this is a very good book. It's the historical book of the Middle Ages. I don't know the author. Let me see the author. Doesn't say. 1 second. It is published by author Morris Bishop, published by American Heritage. It's a publishing corporation, Inc. All right. So so this is the book, right? And I'm going to go into this page, page 89. It says, so quickly did word of the crusade spread through Europe that before the nobles could organize their journey and a group a a groovy mystic called Peter the Hermit had recruited thousands of eager followers among the peasants and set off with them toward Jerusalem. As the first crusade, right, because Jake was going back and forth during the Dark Ages, known as the Crusades, trying to obtain the Holy Land because they were going against the Muslims, right? And they were going back and forth because they had the Ottoman Turk Empire, right? And then you had the Ottoman Turk Empire, then you had the Muslims, right? And some of our people they were with the Muslims, right? Then you had the Christians, which were Jake, right? So it was nothing but confusion because because a lot of Christians, they were known as the Knight Templar, right? Or the Order of Christ, or the Knight Templar, and they were nothing but Satan worshippers, but they wanted the land, right, and to have dominion and to basically like subjugate the people and to basically um, to teach them, the to basically to teach them the whole Christianity, right? Right, because that's why uh, they have sorry, Constantine the Great, right? Which I believe that was in the 300s, I believe 330 AD or so, where they had the Council of Nicaea, and they basically they set up the Roman Catholic Church, and they set up the whole you know they have uh, they have the image of this Yahweh Shai, or so-called Jesus and Mary, right? They were, and basically they're worshiping, they're doing all kinds of pagan type uh god. They're worshiping, pagan, gods, because basically they have like the Madonna and her son, or Isis and Horus, but they basically they incorporate that with the whole Christianity, and basically a lot of them, they were they're Luciferian, they were sun worshippers, and they were going into their whole they're going out that could they were into that whole masonry, right? And they would go up to higher degrees, and they would basically worship Satan, basically worship the goat, or Baphomet. That was the god of the Templars. But I'm gonna continue reading this because that's why we end up falling, right? And then the Muslims came, or the Arabs, the Ishmaelites came, and they had the Ottoman Turks too, which they were mixed up with Esau as well. So at the first crusade, they made a poor impression even in the Christian countries through which they passed. Not not pro, not It said no provision had been made for feeding the border of pilgrims. So when they could not buy supplies, they pillaged the countryside and sacked the town. In retaliation, strugglers uh, from one contingent from one contingent were set up by the Hungarians on the left, right? Which is going to show you this. It says, despite between it says it's a dispute between pilgrim factions and attack by both Christian and Turks ended the peasants' crusade before the before reaching the Holy Land. So Jake was killing a lot of the Turks, right, which are the Edomites, right? This is nothing but these damn Edomites. This is it. This is them right here. You see Jake. You see how they try to whitewash it, but you see they had the Crusades going against the Turks, going against the Muslims, right, and driving their ass out. They're driving them out of their palaces, and they're driving them out. And they're basically show you this other thing too on the previous page. Salaki, one moment. I just saw it. Yeah, so this is another thing. It says Crusades. The Crusades were not inclined to extend Christianity charity to the Muslim fold. After capturing the Ark, Richard the Lionheart at the left, right, we'll show you that, wearing crown, watch as 2,700 Muslims were massacred. So Jake was slaughtering the damn Muslims, right? They were slaughtering their ass, right? And they have Richard the Lionheart. One second. Richard the Lionheart is right here. This is Richard the Lionheart right here. Was slaughtering the damn Turks, the Ottoman Turks, man. They're slaughtering them. They were going back and forth, right? Because that whole Islam, like that whole Islam, right, was set up by the Roman Catholic Church, right, which were Jake that set up that whole Roman Catholic Church, right, to try to get rid of the Muslims and bring their ass to Mecca so that we could get the land. Basically, that's what they were doing, because those Muslims were nothing but pagan worshippers, idolaters. They're like they would. You could read about it basically. A very good book is the National, no, not National Color from Bana Timbuktu. Goes into that. It goes into the Muslims that they would worship a god, 365 days of the year, right? And yeah, they would worship these different idols, So so Muhammad was set up by a woman named Khadijah, and Khadijah went, and she was like her she was like Muhammad, his financier, and set up that whole Muslim religion, right? So I will continue. because this is a very good information. There's so much different things. They're slaughtering the damn Muslim man. There's right here, slaughtering them, and that's gonna happen again, man. You know, because the Israelites are gonna take over the world again, right? Under Yahweh Shai. So they're driven their ass out, and they're bringing them to face judgment. Judgment. Right? Says Revelation 20:3, and cast him into the bottomless pit, and shut him up, and set a seal upon him, that he should deceive the nation no more, till the 1,000 years should be fulfilled. And after that, he should be loosed of the season. So that's why we're in the Mandela season, right? He's been in power from basically starting in the whole the 1400s, right? Because basically there's a thing known as the Black Plague, where a lot of our people were plagued. A lot of people were 2/3 of Jake in Europe were killed by these different pestilence, and basically a lot of our people were mingling with the Edomites, and that's why we end up dying, because these Edomites, they were nothing but beasts, nothing but cave people, man. Right? The Lord put a curse on Esau, man, and basically Esau became very beast-like, right? So that's why the Moors, when you go into if you haven't read about the Moors, you should have some books. You could read the African Presence in Early Europe by Ivan Sertima, a very good book. I'm not going to go into it, but I'm just going to tell you. And The Golden Age of the Moor by Ivan Sertima, very good books. Very good books. And Esau was nothing but a beast, man. Right? Esau was in a very low estate. Right? And basically the Moors, they went like they went to Europe, and they civilized the people of Europe. They civilized the Edomites, man. They taught them how to bathe. They taught them knowledge. They set up schools. So so I can get you this video. One moment. Make you play this. I'm gonna play this video. One moment.
Some of the documents showing the white races of Europe, and we can get a better perspective as to who the Moors were fighting. These are the albinos and the beasts of Europe. And the Moors were fighting these people for hundreds of years prior to the so-called transatlantic slave trade. And one interesting thing I wanted to show you is that when you look at these beasts and albinos and how they have achieved what they've been able to achieve in just a few hundred years, keeping in mind that they were considered wild men just a few hundred years ago, and they had no last names. Many of them didn't even have first names. And I wanted to show you this because I found this very interesting. If you see here the wild men, and you look at the clothing that the people are wearing to the left, you can see here they're wearing this clothing to cover up their hairy bodies. So I found that very interesting. And something else I found in the British Library was one of the oldest genealogy charts, one of the first ones made for white people. And as you can see at the bottom of that genealogy chart, you see two wild men. So they're showing that their ancestry comes from the caveman. So that should give you something to think about, considering that just a few hundred years later, today, we have people like the Queen of England who claim to be of the royal bloodline of Egyptians and Cushites who ruled the earth. They even found the remains of a boy who was buried at Stonehenge in Europe. He was buried in Europe, but he actually came from the Mediterranean Sea in Africa. And he came to Europe 3,500 years ago. So that's in 1500 BC. So we're told that the Moors arrived in Europe in 700 AD.
Yeah, so this is pretty much, this is like a good video that I saved. And basically, Esau, he wasn't civilized. Jake actually civilized them, and a lot of their name, what they have, they took our people's last name, because these Edomites didn't have no, for the most part, they didn't have a language. They didn't have a proper even name. Like, they were beasts. They were nothing but beasts, man. And basically, their whole family, their whole the coat of arms and stuff, it goes back to Jake, right? So that's why a lot of these Edomites have our people's last name. They have the Israelite last name, right? The Moors that were in Europe, that and that's what basically happened. Jeremiah 30:1. But now they that are younger than I have me in derision, whose fathers I would have disdained to have set with the dogs of my flock. Yeah. And Esau was, like, we didn't even want them around us, man. Right? They were nothing but dirty, filthy, they were beasts. Right? And it's still like that to this day. You know, Esau does all kinds of Esau and their men and the women do all kinds of things with their dogs. They kiss their dog. They do all kind of bestiality. They're dirty, man. Yea, whereto might the strength of their hand profit me, in whom all these will perish? For want and famine they were solitary, fleeing to the wilderness, and former time desolate and waste. Yeah, so the Israelites, they drove them. Those who they slaughtered, they slaughtered a lot, as much as they could, and they drove a lot of them into the isolation, into the caves in the Caucasus Mountains, man. And that's why there was many wars for hundreds of years, going back and forth, fighting against the damn beasts, like fighting against the damn Edomites, man, who cut up mallow by the bushes and juniper roots for their meat. Right, so they were nothing but beasts. They had to survive off the land, so that's why they're very strong. They're very strong. We had to kill them. We had to slaughter. We had to slaughter them, man. There's what do you call it? If I could find the picture of the Moors, the Moors defend themselves against the wild men. This is Esau, man. This is Esau. Going against the Moors, The Moors had to use, arrows, bows, And that's the thing that Esau doesn't want to admit, Esau doesn't want to admit, but he does, because he posts those things in his advertisement, like the guy called K-Man and so many of the different advertisements, showing that they were nothing but beasts. They were wild. They were, they were in a very low state, right? They didn't have any clothes. You know, they were they're hairy. You know, yeah, and they're still wild men. Yeah, there's still some of them that's out there. You put modern wild men. See, you can't find. It's hard to find these things, but yeah, but this was Esau, man. He's very hairy, man. This was Esau. This was him, right? We were never no cavemen, you know. That's why they show you in that cartoon, like the Flintstone. They never had no Jake, no black guy, you know. That was you, right? So to dwell in the cliffs of the valley, in the caves of the earth, and in the rocks, among the bushes they brayed, under the nettles they were gathered together. They were children of fools, yea, children of base men. They were vile in earth. Yeah, they're base, man, right? Even though they're in power, they're destroying the earth. They're destroying the earth, man. The air, the water, the food, the people, their splicing genes, you know. That this is the fucking Frankenstein, man. And this man's gonna go all apart. Esau's gonna go all apart, man. And now am I their song, yeah, I am their byword. They abhor me, they flee far from me, and spread to spit in my face. Yeah, right. They don't have respect for us, man. They look down upon us. You know. There's another video. Very good video.
Here's a brief compilation of the wild men of medieval Europe.
Yeah, man, this is modern. Yeah, man, that's modern Esau. That's why Esau's always shaving up he's always shaving himself. He's trying to hide, from you know, his bestiality, his caveman state. They're trying to hide. You know, but that was pretty much it. I didn't really want to go too long. So this is the Moors versus the wild men. Little brief history. Brothers could do their own, homework. Like this is for like younger brothers that's just coming into the fold. Right? Somebody's trying to say bring out more. Yeah, there's a lot of information. Right? I could tell you. I could give you some books to read. Yeah, because this is very show us more illustration. Yeah, well, there's a lot of illustration, man. There's a lot, right? And it's a lot of history. It's a lot of history, man. We can get this. And those are hairy beasts, aliens have those beasts. Yeah, but you brothers could do your own homework, because it's a lot of studying, it's a lot of research, and the spirit has to be dealing with you, right? I was inspired by the apostles, Arya, High Priest Arya, right? And they were always just going to history. But I'll get you this. Revelation 12 and 15. And the dragon cast out of his mouth waters as a flood after the woman, that he might cause her to be carried away with the flood. Right, with his whole Renaissance, his whole false doctrine, that Esau has set up, right, to have our people confounded and not knowing who we are. And the earth helped the woman, and the earth opened her mouth and swallowed up the flood which the dragon cast out of his mouth. So, all the lies, right? So the artifacts, these different books, right? We're exposing their lies. We're exposing their deception, man. All right? We're exposing their lies. Cause Esau did a lot of whitewash. You see how they have this picture, right? Where this is off this book, the Horizon Book of the Middle Ages, right? And basically, it says to ensure the continued it says the ensure it says the continued protected those men through freeholders have came before their lord magistrate of the manor to view their allegiance and service. So basically, this is a video. Sorry, like this is a painting, and this would be like a landlord right here on this right here. This would be the landlord, and you see they whitewash it because you see that they had like woolly hair and shit. Like Esau did a lot of fucking lies, a lot of deception, and that's why you brothers have to do your own homework, you do your own research because it's a lot of in-depth study. All right, so this is a very good book, The Golden Age No More by Ivan Sertima. Very good book right here. Very good book. Nature Knows No Color Line. Very good book too by J.A. Rogers. From Babylon Timbuktu. Like this is for more certain people who just come into the truth. African presidents in early Europe. All right, very good book. You could download them as a PDF too, because a lot of money to keep buying all these books. So if you could have PDF, it's even better. They mix with us to make us just as hairy as they are. I don't know what the hell you're talking about, man. That's how you know we at the end, because all these things are coming out. Yeah. Yeah, man. Esau is being exposed to all the deception. So with that, let's y'all praise due to Yahweh, Bashem, Yahushua, Bashem Mekach, the one apostle of Great Millstone. Peace and blessings to the elect, Abad Babal, and Kwam Yasharlah.